Perfect. Okay. Taking matters into my own hands. At the end of the session, you will have identified one change you want to put in place right now to increase your impact and satisfaction. And I will want to ask you, what can you see? I bet if we were in a big conference room, I would probably hear some of you saying, a smile. This is the incredible capability of our brain to recognize patterns, and especially faces. Yeah, this is with a smile that I started my day. I remembered some positive events, and that put a smile on my face. Could you try to remember positive events? Let's try it. I had planned to tell you next. Face your neighbor, make eye contact, and smile as much as you can. Because it's an exciting way to experiment the mirroring effect. Can we do that in front of our screen? Smile as much as we can? We'll try. I cannot see you, I cannot feel that, but maybe yes. I hope it works, because even when we smile, our brain is fooled by that. Yeah. So, I'm taking matters into my own hands, and at the end of the session, you will have identified one change you want to put in place to increase your impact and satisfaction. One change. Meet Pranay. She's a software engineer, and she felt so good when she took the job. Everything sounded great. She felt it was exactly the right spot for her. Now, she struggles on her job. All things always seems to fall apart and end in endless firefighting sessions. She tried to find ways, but nothing worked. And she feels she is just a small piece of wood carried by the flow of the rapid river, until she finds that thing to change. I'm Alexis Monville. I'm on the EMEA leadership team at Red Hat. And the story I will tell you today is a prequel of my second book. I'm a software engineer and I'm in charge. Book I wrote with Michael Doyle. And it's all about impact and satisfaction. For Pranay, it happened when she attended a conference. She found that one thing that changed everything. That day, one of the presenters asked a simple question. How will you measure your life? Pranay took note of the question, and she started to think about it. During the following days, she returned to the question and drafted what she thought her life should be to call it a success. She explored all the different areas of life. Not only the professional aspects, of course. And after a few days, she started to have a satisfying picture of what it should be. But now, how to get there? The question reminded her of what another presenter mentioned. You have as much influence that you think you have. And to support his claim, the presenter drew a first circle meant to represent what you can really act upon. He then drew a second circle outside the first one, showing what you could really influence. But outside of that, what can you do? Outside of that, it's the soup. The soup analogy is useful because as the first two circles of what we can act upon and what we can influence are well known, This simple knowledge tends to make us powerless. It is learned helplessness. The soup idea pushes us to find a way to influence even slightly what we thought we could not affect. So if I don't want a cold and untasty soup, I take the big pot of soup, put it on the stove, and what happens? Nothing. Nothing immediately. But after some time, a long time, something happens. A small bubble pops up at the surface. It represents a third shared ideas that change the soup. You can change the soup, make it a little bit hotter, maybe add some salt and pepper to make it a little slightly tastier. The soup analogy is there to push ourselves to expand our circles. The soup analogy came from David Schmaltz and A.B. Schwab, by the way. Pranay knows now that to accomplish anything of value, she would need allies. She found a great way to know the other people in her team a little bit better. She found that idea in a book from Paul Seaton, The Dream Team Nightmare. Really simple idea. It's a technique to meet one-on-one using a straightforward structure. And Pranay represented the structure on small post-it notes that she brings with her in her one-on-ones. It starts with an icebreaker. We ask each other 3 questions. Of course, we can pass. So questions like, if you could do anything in the entire world other than your current job, what would it be? What do you spend most of your spare time doing? What's your favorite holiday destination? People ask me things. Have you recently thought, I wish I had done that? Are you afraid of anything? Interesting questions. Then when it's done, we move the small post-it to the done column. Yeah. And we cover the next one, professional background. They will share now their professional work history. And then we cover a specific aspect of the experience of other people. That could be agile experience, that could be DevOps experience, that could be management experience. If you interview aspiring managers or managers, I don't know. And every time you learn something about that, about what the other person will expect about that. Once I had someone in quality assurance telling me, oh yeah, I know what you are doing. You're the agile guru. So in my previous role, the agile guru came in. He explained that the root cause of all our problems was the split between development and quality assurance. And after 2 weeks, our boss fired all the quality assurance people. So I guess you're here exactly for that. That's quite an interesting thing to learn when you want to start to help a team. That probably a large part of the team think that you are there to fire them. After that, you end with another game, asking 3 questions. If you could have 3 wishes, you have a small genius to transform your daily work or the work of the team or the company or the project, what would those wishes be? And sharing those wishes is extremely powerful. And then you're done. Yes, we have a wildcard that we can use, but then we are done. It really helps us to overcome the first impression. And it's hard. In the first 15 seconds, you already know what you think about the person. And we need to avoid the temptation to use our intellect to confirm our first impression. And making the effort to overcome the first impression is the way to create peace in the world. How will you measure your life? Pranay knows now that to increase our impact and satisfaction, it starts with her, but it's just the beginning. So, yes, it starts with you. It starts with self-reflection. It starts with expanding your circle. It starts with overcoming learned helplessness. Brian Tracy told a story which represents well how it affects us. When elephant trainers in India catch a baby elephant, they tie one of its legs to a post with a rope. And the baby elephant struggles and struggles, but it can't get free. For days, the elephant pulls and strains at the rope. And gradually, it learns that struggle is useless and it gives up. When the elephant grows up, the trainer keeps it tied to the same rope in the same way. And even so, it can now break the rope and get away. It stands passively and waits for the trainer to come and get it. It has developed what is called learned helplessness. It has learned that the struggle is useless, and as a result of repeated failure experiences earlier in life, the elephant has learned a self-imposed limitation. We need to overcome that. So expanding our circles is exactly that. And of course, it starts with us, but it starts also with building the relationship with others. The struggles does not go away magically. Pranay looked for a way to focus her energy on what is really important for her goal. She found a technique called impact mapping in a book from Goiko. It works like this. Start with 4 simple columns: why, who, how, what. I will walk you through the example. So why are we doing this? This is the goal we are trying to achieve. The why here is we want to have a fantastic picnic. With who? With our partner, of course. The who is who can produce the desired effect, who can obstruct it, who are the consumer or users of the product, who will be impacted by it. They are actors who can influence the outcome. Speaking of factors who can influence the outcome, what could be really annoying if there were mosquitoes coming to the picnic? So we look at that, we then look at how our actors' behavior change, how they can help us achieve the goal, how they can obstruct or prevent us from succeeding. These are the impacts that we are trying to create. So for mosquitoes, for example, we could say they don't show up. And we can imagine a lot of what, the 4th column, to solve that. You should fix the watering system to avoid growing new mosquitoes. Or you should grow repulsive plants. Or you should buy a sound device that emits a frequency that is really annoying the mosquitoes. A lot of what are possible. What we can do as an organization or a delivery team to support the required impact. There are deliverable software features, organizational activities, and so on. So if we take another behavior, it's if they show up, they don't bite, we could say what could be earth lotion, and it could work. So if you stick to the behavioral change, you free up the creativity of the team to find what, and you can try several options. You're not stuck with one option. And I think it's the best way to define goals. You can measure the impact you want to have without knowing yet what to do to get the impact you want. So it's the best way to define OKRs, objectives, and key results. The why is the objective, and the key result is the impact. No mosquito bite at the picnic. That's what Pranay did. Pranay created her own OKRs. And she introduced her OKRs to her colleagues one by one. And some of them said, hey, I know how to help you with that one. Those interactions helped her to refine her impact map and create better OKRs. And progressively, it became team OKRs. And they joined forces. And remember, as Christina Woodkey said during one of the episodes of Le Podcast, you've got to avoid the seduction of the task. you need to really think about the outcome, the impact. So start with you, expanding your circles and building the relationship with others. And it continues with defining goals using impact mapping and OKRs, which becomes shared OKRs with the team. And because you know what are the things that are the most important, you want to focus your time on those things. What Pranay found is that there was really 3 types of time. Time for synchronization to make sure that we are all on the same page. And synchronization time is when team members share their progress, challenges, learning, so they can all stay on the same page, align toward the same goal. During synchronization time, we can identify opportunities for activities that will fall into the 2 other types of time. It could be opportunity for collaboration or solving a problem, training in a specific area, and so on. Oh yeah, collaboration time. It's when 2 or more people work together to accomplish a specific activity. The collaboration is key to benefit from the diversity of perspectives in the team. Collaboration to benefit from the instant feedback of other team members, like when you are engaged in pair programming or even mob programming. Really working together. And time for focalization with no interruption, no notification. So you don't waste any time switching context and coming back to your original task. Pranay and her team defined a catcher who will deal with all the interruptions for the rest of the team. So the rest of the team can have real focus sessions when there's no interruption. And then they know that the catcher will catch everything. Of course, the catcher will not deal with everything, will not solve every problem. And it will just sometimes postpone the resolution of the problem to the end of the focus session. But they were able to focus for maybe 1 hour, 2 hours on what they want to focus on. Priceless. Really focusing on one thing at a time, not even interrupted by themselves. To refine their use of time, the team put on paper their team agreement. You always need team agreements. Even when you are going to throw axes on wood targets, you need team agreements. By the way, the 5th one applies to a lot of different contexts. Pranay found an efficient way to start drafting the team agreement, or the team social contract, if you want. And she used the 6 question from Patrick Lencioni's book, The Advantage. Those six questions are: why do we exist? How do we behave? How do we behave is a great one. That's how you handle conflicts, for example. When you define that, you know that there will be conflicts, but you want them to be productive. Or how we use shared documents to enable asynchronous collaboration without the need of another meeting. And it also enables the more introverts of us to contribute more efficiently. What do we do? What do we do? Can every team member answer that question? How will we succeed? Are we in agreement on that? What is the most important thing right now? And you can see how a good impact map here is really important. Because prioritizing the impact, the how, is much easier than sorting an infinite list of whats. Who must do what? This question addresses roles and responsibilities, so that we can avoid the issue of false expectations. I believe that the manager should do X, or another team member should do X, and if you ask the manager, if you ask that other team member, you will find out that they don't think it's their duty at all. And if you put that on paper, it really helps. We could already agree on what is expected. So, it starts with you, expanding your circles and building a relationship with others. It continues with defining goals, using impact mapping and OKRs, which became shared OKRs for the team. And finally, a strategic use of time, defined in a continuously updated team agreement. Updated after each retrospectives, for example. Pranay also quickly discovered that there was a big need for time to celebrate as a team. They wanted to celebrate their successes. So they added that to their team agreements. And I hope you will too. Because as Pranay's team did, this is how you increase your impact and satisfaction. Start with you, clear goals, and a perfect use of time as a team. Now, maybe some of you will tell me, it's not really possible in my organization. Sometimes people tell me that it could work in a startup. If you start from scratch, it's easier. But for our organization, it's not really possible. We have already processes in place. People are like this, they don't want to change. It's not really possible. Yeah. So just imagine that you're sick, and you have an appointment with a medical doctor. So let me introduce you the doctor's stock photo here. Would you be fine with an answer from our dear doctor? You're like, you're sick. It's bad. So let me call your parents and I will tell them that they have to start from scratch. Not really a satisfying answer, right? Yeah. The only reasonable answer is change. I wish that you picked up one change from today, even a small one. It could be the self-reflection journaling piece, or maybe the one-on-one to get to know each other. One of the people who tried that told me that after 30 minutes, he felt he was speaking with an old friend. So it's a good one. One change. And we are back to the studio.